Alrighty, and we're live.
Fantastic.
Check the group, make sure that we are good in the hood. It looks like it. What's up, Matthew? How you going, my man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Decent week so far.
That's what we like to hear. Do you want to, for anybody watching, do you want to introduce yourself? Because Cam's ugly mug and my face for radio normally feature on these Thursdays. So give us a little bit of an update on the newbie. Like, who are you? How do you fit into the whole thing? And how can you help people?
100%, yeah. So, I mean, look, I've been with Professional Builder for a good year and a bit now, and had the pleasure of, bringing on a lot of new members as a growth specialist, which is an awesome, role to be able to see a lot of builders in some difficult times and come on and make some big changes. So it's pretty wicked, and yeah, excited to dive into this subject today as well, because it's one that I kind of constantly hear as well.
Hard out, man. You're kind of sitting in the eye of the storm, right? Like you get to sit there and you see hundreds and hundreds of residential building companies every single year, and you see all of the shit that doesn't work, and a couple of the really key things that do work, and that's kind of what we're going to discuss today, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, often so many of the same challenges, and all around the world, different countries, doesn't matter. It's a lot of the similar challenges keep popping up, and this kind of building resilience is a big part of that.
100%. I'm just going to pull up the comments at my end here. So guys, if you're watching us live, then please give us a like, leave a comment, let us know that you can see us, and that the technology hasn't crashed into a tree, and we're talking to ourselves. So let's get right into things. So the question is, how do I go on holiday? How do I take time away from my business? How do I build a bit more of a resilient company when I'm running a residential building company? All right. You hear that fairly often, right, Matthew? So do you want to go a little bit deeper into some of the challenges that people might be experiencing sort of on site, or some of the challenges that might be leading them to not be able to take a holiday, just so that people can understand what kind of problems we're going to be solving here today?
Yeah, I think it's kind of that mindset of when you're spinning so many plates at one time, how do you stop spinning one, right? How do you hand that off? And whether it's like some of your processes on site for quality, or controlling margin through your change orders or variation, or whether it's some more of that back end stuff like your invoicing, and paperwork. How do I hand that off to an office administrator, or how do I stop doing that and hand that off to a site supervisor? That kind of making that jump sometimes can be a real challenge, because often these guys just don't, builders don't know how to do that. They don't understand the process to do that, and often we get caught in that sort of cycle of, well, I'll just keep doing it myself, because I know how to do it, and no one can do it as good as me. So it's really important to be able to follow a process so that we can start handing that off and actually elevating ourselves in the business.
Yeah, 100%, my man. Like, if you're watching this, you're probably a really damn good builder, and that's where you got taught. Those are the skills that you acquired, like how to swing a hammer, how to, do all your finishings, like all the stuff that are required to be a great carpenter, great tradesman, great builder. And that's awesome. That's got you from where you were to where you are. But most of the people that are watching this are also trying to get to the next level and trying to build a building company, trying to build a business that's not just a busy job with overheads, but is one that gives them both more time and more money. And those skills, like what goes into running a business, like taking care of cash flow, margin, profitability, yourself, your team, your systems, your processes, right? Like your vision and your goal, so that you're not just running a real busy job with overheads. All of that stuff, that's pricing, right? Like managing people, hiring, firing, like the list is endless. And all of that shit is not taught on your apprenticeship, or when you're sort of running a site for another guy before you go out on your own. So that's kind of what we're going to double click into today, and then what we're going to sort of get a little bit deeper into. So let's start with a couple of things. And let's start with an exercise. I want to look at this through two lenses. So lens number one is an exercise that we do with some of our boardroom members, some of our highest level members, and it's called the 90-day holiday. How can you take 90 days off over the next 365? And I don't mean like, oh, cool, I'm taking a holiday, but I'm still my phone's still blowing up. I'm still sort of stressed sitting on a beach. I'm still like, hanging back. And you hear stories like this all the time, right, Matthew?
Yeah, exactly. It's often I can't take a week off without everything falling falling apart. Or if I do, it's not really a holiday. You know, I'm not really present with my family, with my kids, with my wife, because at night I'm checking the emails when, you know, the wife's getting mojitos. Can't really enjoy that as much as I want to. Or, hey, I can take a week off, but, you know, basically I come back to a bit of a cluster and a lot of problems to deal with. And that's obviously what we want to avoid.
Yeah, hard out. A cluster what? A cluster what? Go on, you can say it.
Exactly. You know.
Okay, sweet. All right. So that exercise is called the 90-day holiday. And the way that we begin to look at it is the way that everybody should begin to look at things as well. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you kind of a level 1 A to Z of operations, and then we'll go a little bit deeper into like a level 2, level 3 A to Z of operations. So what this is on screen, and if you want this resource, just comment below A to Z. A to Z, leave it in the comments below if you want to get your hands on this one. And this is kind of like a very first step into building resilience, building systems into your building company. Because if you don't have, we talk a lot about working on and above the business rather than in the day-to-day of the business, right? But that's really damn hard to, know what to work on and know what to work above of if you don't know what your business actually looks like. So this A to Z is the working set of drawings for how a lead comes in one end as a lead and out the other end, code of compliance and completion of job, okay? So, before I get into any more details, Matthew, do you want to sort of touch on anything here?
No, I think you like hit it on the head there. Like, if you don't have this mapped out, and you're just sort of responsible for 95% of it, then it's all just kind of racking around in your brain, and it becomes very hard to take that 10 or 20% and hand it off to your foreman or hand it off to your office administrator. So I think the very first step is just actually getting a visual eyes on what that workflow looks like, and not sort of, keeping it all bundled up in the noggin, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%. Get hit by the proverbial bus and we're up the creek, right? Any more throwaway?
Oh, there's plenty more. We've still got lots of time.
Okay, cool. So this is where we start, all right? We want to get a visual map of how a lead flows in from one end and out the other end. But, whoop-de-doo, you got that. Now what do you do? Well, what's up, Ross? Hope you're here good. Hope you're going good, my man. Ross is saying hi, guys. What's up, Ross? Marty's on the line. Omid as well. What's up, guys? Cool. So once you've got this mapped out, what we want to do is we want to put a who and a how next to every single stage. So go through this and put like initials, and you might be putting R Mac, okay, for Ross, or you might be putting OC for Owen Chambers, or you might be putting MF for Matthew Francis, okay. So you want to go through this and put your initials next to all the stages. You might put your foreman, you might put your leading hand, you might put your office manager. But if those people don't exist, what you might find, or even if they do exist, you might still be hoarding all of this responsibility. Okay, and you might find that you're responsible for like 95% of the day-to-day operations of the business. Okay, and how would you ever begin to work above and on the business if you're part of all the day-to-day? You'd be absolutely shamed. You'd be so tired at the end of the day that you can't actually work on all the other stuff, because this is not all the stuff that goes into a building company. This is just the day-to-day operations. You do get this right, and you are able to elevate out of this stuff, that you are able to work on and above, but you need to be well below 50% of how you collect cash, how you deliver on your product or service, okay? And that's why you need to make sure you start here. So first step, map it out. Second step, who is responsible for each of these steps? Third step, put a system, a checklist, a process, a how-to next to each one. For example, site setup. Is there a site setup checklist? Signing of a contract signing checklist. How do you collect cash? How do you send the invoices out? Is it on a Monday and a Wednesday, a Monday and a Friday? How do you qualify your leads? Have you got a questionnaire? Have you got qualifying questions? How do you warm them up prior to meeting them on site? Do you send them an information pack or a lookbook? How do you convert them after you've priced the job, and how are you delivering your quote as an action plan? Is it just 4 pages of numbers when they go, well, that number looks pretty big, or is it 10 pages of why they should choose you over anybody else that takes them from cold or warm to sold, right? So there's all these little things, and we need to, after we've established the who, we need to establish the how. How are you or future you going to do this step in the process? Does that make sense, Matthew? Do you think I've kind of,
I think and I think the real key thing to, remember here as well is like a lot of these tasks are, money generating. And, often what happens is when we don't have this mapped out, we sort of, we're running around dealing with this thing and it becomes very reactive. We're not planning our weeks out. And then, we're not sending out that invoice in time, or, hey, we're not tracking our labor hours as good as we should, and we're getting blowouts, or, all those things that actually drive profitability and margin. And a lot of the builders that I speak to, often they know they need to back cost, they know they need to capture those change orders and variations better, they know they need to track those that time on site, but because they don't have eyes on, they're not really have visibility on it. It's so easy to sort of like let it slip this week, and then all of a sudden you're 6 months into the year like we are now, or 7 months now, and you haven't back costed.
100%.
Yeah, sorry, something just dropped up there. Yeah, no. You haven't back costed, and you've lost that margin potentially across the business.
Yeah, bang on, man. Like it's basically 2022. We're in the second half of 2021.
Almost there.
How quickly this yeah. You're bang on the money. So what I showed you just before on screen was kind of like a level 1 A to Z, and that's a really good representation of approximately a $1 to $1.5 million building company doing renovations and new builds. What I'm showing you now is a very comprehensive A to Z of operations, which is broken down into pre-construction, construction, and post-construction. Because you might be looking at your business and going, I couldn't possibly map my company. It's like I've never done this before. That's a car crash in slow motion waiting to happen. Like I don't want to tackle that. So what we want to do is we want to break it down, isolate some problems, and work out how we can solve those faster. So we start by isolating pre-construction, construction, and post-construction. Now, depending on where you're at, we usually want to start closest to the cash. So if you've got jobs on the go at the moment, you normally want to start at systemizing your on-site operations. That is how we will collect more money, improve our margins that are currently on at the moment, and make sure that you get an ROI as fast as possible. So this here is a spreadsheet that we've broken down into pre-construction, construction, post-construction, and you can visualize your A to Z of operations as a flowchart like this, or as a checklist like this. As a flowchart like this for construction, or as a checklist like this for construction. As a flowchart like this for post-construction, or as a checklist like this for post-construction. And as you can see, if I zoom right into this one, you can go stage, who's responsible, what tool, and then if you really want, you can turn this into a waiting on, doing, and done, date completed, and evidence of completion. Now this is available for all of our members, but the one that's available for absolutely everybody that I want everybody to get their whole hand on is this one here, A to Z of operations. So what you need to do, what's up, Tali? I see that you're on the line as well. Hope you're good, my man. And Ross, drop any questions that you got. You might have some specific questions around how this applies to yourself or what your next steps might be. But what the next steps from here need to be are, number one, you need to get your hands on this resource. Number two, you need to, it's done for you, okay? So you just need to go through and put who next to each of those tasks, and then you need to go back through and do how, all right? Then what you need to do is you need to begin to work on this as you go, and you can use all of our systems and processes to sort of fast track things, okay? But usually it's easiest to then apply a bit of a traffic light process. So red, it's broken, it needs attention and help right now. And like I said before, you normally want to start closest to the cash. Jobs that are on the go right now, jobs that are just about to sign, okay? Or jobs that are closest to a milestone payment or a deposit, okay? Then orange lights, what is needing attention, but not in the next 90 days? It's not closest to the cash. Maybe we've already got lots of work booked up in advance, and sales and marketing is not a priority right now. Okay, and then green light, what's going real good, and you could delegate off, hand over, because there's a process there that's working already. Okay, so hopefully that's clear, guys, clear as mud. Thank you, Ross. I love to hear the inspiring words. I'm doing great, apparently, Matthew.
I think it makes good sense. I think it's all about like just starting the process, because none of this is going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to map out. These are big complex machines building companies, but you have to get some visibility first to at least start the process.
100%, my man. Let me just, before we wrap up too much, I want to show you some examples that a member sent through to me. And what you were saying about like it being an iterative process, it being like an evolving thing, is like bang on the money. So if I share this again, this is a member that runs a rather large business, okay? They're doing a bit of a mix between residential new builds and light commercial. Turnover is, well, I won't disclose that because I don't know it for certain. But if I jump back over here, so they broke theirs down into their office, okay, and they put it up on their wall as an exercise. So they went through phase 1, tendering, okay, and you can see all of the stages there, and then all of the resources. They went through stage 2, pre-construction, okay, which is like the sales process. Stage 3, construction there, and then stage 4, they put as there as closeout. So as you can see, what they've done is they've identified each of the steps, they've identified who's responsible for them, they've identified the tool, the process, the system, the resource that person needs to be able to get the job done to a higher standard. Okay, so this is an example where somebody's gone, here's the A to Z, let's make it my own a little bit. What are all the systems? Let's log into the membership site, let's borrow and swipe and deploy a bunch of those systems. And now let's make it visible so that the team can see it all the time, and we can build a new normal of how we hold everybody accountable and how we use our systems publicly. So hopefully that gives a bit of context and comprehension and how that would make sense for everybody who's on the line today.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's funny, we live in 2021, lots of software and digital options, but it's funny how having something printed on paper on the wall in front of everyone each day can really reinforce it and get the job done as well.
100%. And low-hanging, Ross is quoting you, Matthew, so you've got to write it down, low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. As fortune cookies, I think.
Yeah. Maybe we should get some fortune cookies with some of your quotes in them that we can give out for Christmas and New Year.
It's all recorded, guys. Don't worry. We'll have it up on the page soon.
Excellent. Hey, and just on this as well, I wasn't going to go too deep into this part, but if you've made it this far, then you deserve it. So you don't grow your business, your team does, okay? And as going from the identity of being a great builder to being a great business owner, okay, as you and your company grow, then you're not actually responsible for building all these systems out. So don't look at that A to Z and go, holy moly, like I've got my work cut out for me. I've got a lot of work to do to put all these systems in place. It's like, yes and no, okay? You need to hold the highest standards and you need to lead the team. And you've got the framework now of what that vision looks like. You need to build the blueprint and build the business based on those systems so that the people know how to run the business by using those systems, okay? So what I would do is I'd hold a team exercise where you get everybody together, and step 1, you get everybody to sketch their part of the business, okay? So have you seen those videos, Matthew, where they've got 5 days to draw the house, and it's stunningly beautiful. They got 5 hours to draw the house, and it's not too bad. They got 5 minutes to draw the house, and then they got 5 seconds to draw the house, and just progressively gets different. Have you seen those?
Progressively worse, yeah.
Yeah, worse, different, you know it. So the same thing applies. If you don't give yourself a deadline on building your A to Z of operations, you're going to try and build the NASA version of this A to Z, and it's going to be an absolute bloody nightmare. Okay, you'll never actually get it done. Okay, because you're not an artist, and there's a science and art that goes into building your A to Z. You want to set a timeline, so get all your team together and go 2.5 minutes or 5 minutes. You need to draw your section of the business, okay? And they need to draw their map or their A to Z of their part of the business. It might be sales, it might be construction, it might be post-construction, it might be just site setup, okay? Maybe it's just closing out and handover of a project. Maybe you just want to do it with your foreman or your leading hand, okay? Yeah. 5 minutes. Step 2, come together and add all of your parts together so that you can build out your own A to Z of operations, okay? And then go through the same thing again. Who, how, red light, orange light, green light, and you'll also get very clear on what scope of responsibility each person in the company has. So what I'm trying to say is you don't have to be responsible for building all these systems. Hand it over to your team, let them build part of the A to Z, and make it really clear in regards to, you need to start systems thinking. You need to start identifying areas of improvement. How can we improve these things? What is your system? What is your process for this? Okay, and then let's document, collate it all together so that you can elevate, you can grow with the company, or if you ever decide to move on, we're not going to be left in the lurch because there's a process of how you do stuff left behind. So hopefully that's clear, guys. I think we've rambled for long enough. Anything to add, Matthew? Anything that we've missed up?
I think that's right on the money. Get your get your team involved. Get everyone to sort of take ownership of it, and makes it a hell of a lot easier.
100%. All right, guys. Drop A to Z below if you want to get your hands on those resources. Here's to your success. We'll see you next time, and drop any questions so that we can clarify stuff down there as well. Or we'll slide into our DMs. We'll catch you next time.
See you guys.